Hello, and welcome back to the 950 Club Podcast, an anime and manga podcast. Today, it's our After Hour special. Now, what we mean with our After Hours is that our conversation goes beyond anime. We talk about general pop culture, movies, TV, music, even politics, even business. Hey, it's the nature of the beast. For this particular After Hour special, we talk about Netflix and the business model and, yeah, our gripes and concerns over the way they're using anime and other forms of entertainment as well. We also catch up with Munchkon Tensei and Komi Can't Communicate. And finally, we also talk about anime and Hollywood, how they don't coexist. Starting with the live action Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson. Blah. We also speculate over the live action Cowboy Bebop from Netflix. It's an interesting episode. Jamal's back on board, so tune in and enjoy.
I think we covered this a little bit, but are you guys excited for the Cowboy Bebop live action?
No,
I am.
I'm not excited for anything Netflix live action. I'll probably watch it,
Yeah.
but am I excited for it? No. I'm excited to hate watch it
Aw.
because I am an avid hate watcher,
Oh man.
and I am going to enjoy hate watching it
Well, and you have seen Cowboy Bebop before.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through the whole thing yet.
You got the gist.
Like
of
that's
it.
one that I
Yeah.
like watched like way back in the day.
Yeah.
See, and that's one of those anime where they do a lot of like that's gonna be expensive if you want to do that right because the it's set in space. Yeah, like they spend a lot of their time on planets and stuff, but the majority of that you have spaceships, you have space stations, you have little colonies all over the place. And if they do it right, that could be really amazing.
For me, it's just
But
For me, it's just the curve.
The trust isn't there. Yeah.
No, and that's why I'm looking forward to it because I'm hoping they do something different. I'm hoping that there's like some type of like, okay, let's just have fun with it. Ultimately, just have fun with it. I like the cast. I like the direction it looks like so far because they're not trying to be to the bone with it, which is fine. And my only hesitation is that production value aspect. Like you can never ever top the original. Impossible.
Well, this is. I'm not clear on this. Is this going to be a movie or a show?
I think it's a show.
If it's a show, it probably has a better chance of not sucking so bad.
I think it's
Yeah.
a show as well.
Yeah.
Like with Netflix, I trust the production
Yes.
because Netflix will invest a lot in this. Sometimes they invest way too much.
Yeah.
Like even like Stranger
They
Things.
have some stuff that it's just like, dude, you don't need to spend. This doesn't need that much production, man.
The production values
You're
are
wasting
insane.
a lot of money on.
Yeah, like some of their comedies. When you watch like a comedy show,
yeah,
Specials,
you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're looking at this. You're like, why does this look so good? I mean, if this was on network television, it wouldn't look anywhere
No.
near this good.
No.
And I think, dude,
That's
who knows how
blowing
much
their
money they
budget.
lose.
They're a lot of money. They're losing a lot of money. But I mean, so their production, I don't question that. I
Yeah.
question their direction of it and how they're going to produce it and
Creative choices.
their creative choices. That is what I question because everything I've seen from them thus far has been abysmal.
I know. I was mentioning Edwin. Basically, like I'm thinking that they're going to treat it like Guardians of the Galaxy, not too over the top or not to the bone, but probably have the same flair. Because Cowboy Bebop was just before Firefly too, and Futurama, and the futuristic, having fun in space kind of like thing was created by Cowboy Bebop. So they're taking their own liberties in a weird way.
It's definitely, it was, yeah, Cowboy Bebop was definitely influential.
I would consider it the Pulp Fiction of anime. Like it changed the game.
Oh, you can't walk away. It's like Samurai Champloo.
Yeah, and the same creators. Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those shows where you can't walk away. It's gonna speak to your soul. It's gonna influence you creatively. And that's what's scary about Netflix making it into a live action, because it is one of those sacred anime where it's like, this is the top of the game. Like this is what anime is capable of.
And transfuses with other media. And for me, film. Like if you don't watch this in film class, you're done.
Yeah.
You're
like
not in this.
The music, the character design, the story arcs, the dialogue, everything comes together in a way that, it's like one that you always remember. And so with them, don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
Because it's like Jamaal said, it could put a stain on the show where, people who haven't watched it, they come in, they watch the Netflix show, it tanks because they're doing their own thing. And people are like, well, I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to watch Cowboy Bebop, the anime, because I watched this terrible Netflix show. And then, it's like going forward, people are like, oh, no, I saw the Netflix show. I'm like, no, you guys.
No.
I don't want to be one of those people who are like, oh, no.
It goes with the
book,
comic book movies, too.
The book is so much better,
Like people watch.
Or the original is so much better.
Compared to, like, people watching the X-Men movies, for example. Like, they pretty much do a good job of translating, but reading it, too, is a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah, always.
Even Akira, the manga itself is like wholly dense. Like that's a whole different ballgame compared to the movie. So
yeah.
Oh
yeah, there's so much more packed into there.
Well,
that graphic, that manga is insane.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah,
I mean, like Edwin said, for a lot of people, this Netflix thing is going to be the introduction for a lot of people, because Netflix is big. It's going to be on their Netflix top 10. People are going to hear about it. They're going to watch it. That's going to be their introduction to this. And if they screw it up, man, not only are the OG fans going to be upset, but you're gonna kill off a whole different fan base.
Yeah.
You do good with this, then people are going to go back and watch the anime. And people are going to go back and watch other anime on your site. But you screw this up, you can mess up a lot of people. So well, hey, Netflix, get it done right. I don't trust you. And you'll probably raise the price every month because you screwed up.
Like after watching the first episode, it just increased just now.
Yeah. It's like, hey, look, we need to pay for this, so we have to raise your prices again.
We spend a lot on this and it bombs, so give us an extra $1.
Give it for free. Like have a free trial just watching it or something.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I don't mind paying for streaming services, but I'm paying for content. My money's going to produce content that I'm never going to watch.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess, but at least have something that I want to watch.
Yeah.
Give me something that I actually want to watch. Not that I'm like, well, I'm paying for this, so I might as well watch something. Give me something I want to watch. If you're not going to give me something I want to watch, it's like, why am I paying for other people's content?
That helps. I think Disney Plus went through that. When it first came out, and people were like, oh, there's nothing here for me to watch.
Yeah.
And I think they lost a lot of people, but once they started throwing out that Marvel content, The Mandalorian, I think, is the first thing that really got Disney on.
Yeah.
And then after that, they were giving you constant content. It's like, okay, now you're giving me content that I actually want to see. What if? Great. I love it. But they're constantly giving you content, and it's like, all right, I'll keep paying for this because I want to see what's next.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to do that, and you just force feeding me garbage,
that's why Disney bought Marvel and they bought Star Wars, because they had their fan bases. They were mostly I know that they purchased Marvel because they wanted to have properties that were popular with boys.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really have that market. And so that's why they purchased Marvel, so they could have those characters that boys, like
Yeah.
Wolverine and Spider-Man and those things. And so that's what they wanted to base their streaming service off of. But it gets into weird territory because then do I have a Disney Plus account just so I could watch Star Wars and Marvel? And what about the other stuff? And it's like the same thing with Sony. Do I have a Sony streaming just so I can watch anime? You put your money where your mouth is, but then what happens to all the stuff that you want to watch? Like, I want to watch something funny.
Yeah.
Do they have to produce comedy shows within that universe just so I can watch something funny? And then what happens to the shared experience? It's like, it's just a weird place we're in right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no looking back, unfortunately, but at the same time, like with the Mandalorian, like Jamal brought up, they took a chance, and even for a big property, as long as you like give the creators and the direction their proper due, anything can happen. Like going back to even Star Wars, that's an anomaly. You can't like make this stuff up sometimes. You just have to let it sit and let it go. So
in a lot of ways, the Mandalorian redeemed the Star Wars franchise.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because those movies
Nah.
turned a lot of fans off. But the Mandalorian,
This might be half Star Wars.
I can't. I'm not gonna go down that road.
no, you're not.
Because
I was the one that was telling you, dude, watch the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But you were they ruined you so.
Well, see, it goes back to what we were just saying. Yeah, where
you could ruin the franchise
for
a fan.
And they did. For me, like I did not. Disney's 3 movies, the 3 current sequels to Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't want to put it like that, but pretty much. The whatevers. Those movies did not instill me with a lot of trust that Disney knew what they were doing with the Star Wars franchise. So when the Mandalorian started gaining in popularity, I was like, I thought, okay, so that's the Baby Yoda show. It's just, that's what I thought. And so I sat down and watched the first season, and I was like, oh my God, they get it.
It's Star Wars.
It's Star Wars. It's not, you don't have Luke Skywalker, you don't have Han Solo, but still, it's Star Wars. It's the look and the feel of like, yeah, it's gritty, it's in there, it's Star Wars. You don't have to like regurgitate the movies just so that people will get, hey, that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You don't have to blow up a Death Star or a planet in every single property and every single Star Wars thing that happens in order for it to be Star Wars. And The Mandalorian understood that. It's like, all right, cool. And I think they have some of the creative producers from the Clone Wars on there.
Yeah, and then John Favreau.
Yeah, and so like it's like, all right, these guys get it. These guys get, they get Star Wars. I think for a lot of people, especially a lot of kids, it's like it won't be the movie. The movies might have been their introduction, but The Mandalorian was what made them fall in love with Star Wars.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fall in love again with it.
Yeah.
And that's what Disney, like, they're being smart with it, because it's like they're using that platform for, that's like a sideline character in the Star Wars story.
Yeah.
But they have the space to flesh this story out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And they did that with when they had the Netflix shows from Marvel with Jessica Jones and whatnot.
Punisher.
When you had that stuff, you have the time and the space to flesh these worlds out on TV instead of throwing it in the movie.
And that's what's frustrating too, because Netflix was in that experimental phase at one point, but then just became its own little thing.
Well,
it
was Disney buying Marvel, and they were like, "No, we want these properties back."
Yeah.
So that's all it was.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And I think those shows worked because they were like an interpretation that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
They weren't like they drew from the source material. They were their own thing too.
Right. But that's, again, like you said, it was its own thing. That's what Netflix needs to do with Cowboy Bebop. to tie it all back in together. That's the kind of direction that you're hoping for. You don't want them to do this quick retelling.
I'm just hoping they just do it okay. I'm not even expecting to be even
even
close to the original.
Like, even one of the cool things, and I heard, I was reading this somewhere, somebody would have liked to see how they all met.
Yeah, me.
You know, like an origin story or a prequel or even something set in that universe where it's like, you know, those characters had their moment. We enjoyed that. We enjoyed following them. Give somebody else a shot. And I think that would have worked better than just what they're intending. It's like, if you're just going to do like a recap show of like our favorite Cowboy Bebop moments, it's like, what is that?
Right.
What is that? Do I go back and rewatch that? I can go back and rewatch the original. I don't want to watch a recap like Cowboy Bebop's highlight reel or these are your favorite moments from the show. We're going to give them to you in live action. It's like, okay.
For me, like,
I guess.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't mind like a certain 1 or 2 episodes like from the anime, but like in a weird way, trying to retell it in a sensible, like respectful way. It's overreaching. I'm one of those guys because I like the cast and the direction and look of it already. I'm like, I'm reaching. I'm gonna trust you.
You're being hopeful.
Like with Death Note, I knew that was gonna be garbage. I just knew it was like gonna be one of those things. I'm like, I don't know. Even though they had Willem Dafoe and everything, I'm like,
oh, man,
I know.
how do you mess that up?
I didn't even remember that William Dafoe was in
Yeah.
it. Like all those, I just kind of blocked them out.
You're too traumatized.
So which was worse, the Brotherhood or Death Note?
Death Note for me.
Death Note? Okay.
I'm telling you, I don't remember.
Yeah.
You don't.
So
you watch this and
they were all bad, and I'm telling you, I just blocked them all out.
And if I wanted
to
add one,
bad.
It just screamed out. It just.
When I went back and watched the shows, I'm like, did I watch this already? That's how bad it was. Because I'm like, oh, and then I'm thinking about, I'm like, in the movie maybe?
Okay.
No, the movie couldn't have covered this. Like, it was so bad. Like, I know I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But I couldn't place it because I just blocked those movies out.
Wow.
It's just mental block. They were that bad.
Okay.
They're that bad. Do better, Netflix.
And for me, I like to add one more to the pile of garbage that broke my heart. Ghost in the Shell.
Oh,
the movie,
man.
Scarlett Johansson. Jamaal, if you want a good laugh.
I didn't even bother.
No. If you want to laugh, and I know you like hate watching. I want. That's like your hate watch assignment.
Yeah, dude. I mean, do yourself a favor. If you want to watch something, if you want to talk about cultural appropriation, oh God, man, that was dude, that hurt. That movie hurt. And the thing is, it's like it's so weird because it's a modern movie that feels like it was filmed in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And the characters, they don't, oh, man.
ScarJo can only do so much. Even she was like, I'm out.
Well, we were making fun of that line. What was it? I was built for justice.
Yeah, she phoned it in so bad.
Well, I mean...
I know.
Man,
what can you do?
She was getting lambasted for taking that role in the first place.
Well, yeah.
So because Motoko Kasanagi... I'm like, why are you and what they did with it in the movie was even worse.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, so essentially, what did they do? They took that poor girl who essentially was killed. You take a Japanese woman's brain, drop it into an android that looks like a blonde, it's a blonde white woman, and you're just like, so nobody knows what is going on. And I just thought it was a terrible way to try to balance that out because it's like, what?
Yep.
It was so confusing.
Yep.
It was so confusing. And that movie was... Why did you bring this up?
I'm bringing up Edwin.
Oh,
yes. Now Jamal's like, now I'm watching it.
See, now you got a new episode, like terrible anime live action anime.
Well,
dude.
It's the only way to do it. The free
Taking
form.
apart the worst of them.
What? I don't even know why. Oh my God!
I had to bring it up.
Why did you bring that? I had forgotten about that movie. I had blocked that, like Jamal said. I had blocked that from my mind. I like Scarlett Johansson. I probably one of
The
the few
cast was
people.
decent too. Yeah.
Yeah, probably one of the few people that liked Lucy.
I like Lucy too. I like Lucy.
Which one was Lucy?
That's a Luc Besson movie. The guy who
Yeah.
directed Fifth Element.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any difference to me.
Well,
Like, I don't.
Yeah, Jamal's not that.
Like,
level.
what happened?
He's not at that level.
Was Lucy the one where she was the computer or something?
Well, similar to Ghost in the Shell, she was just like this entity.
Well, because the drugs heighten your
Performances. And
not performances, but it's supposed to heighten your intelligence
There you
and
go.
like activate parts of your brain that you're not used to using.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Movie.
That's fine.
Yeah, I thought the movie was alright.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, I thought that movie was alright.
That was 100 times better than Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, a million. Yeah.
Yeah, when I walked into Ghost in the Shell, and I'm like, Ghost in the Shell is one of those things where I think exactly what we were talking about before with Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
where you take the moments, you take your favorite moments from a movie, and you shove it into
right.
you take your favorite moments from property, and you shove it into like something else,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's not better than the original.
No.
It's just here are your favorite moments in live action, and none of the parts of that movie fit together well enough. None of the performances, none of anything fit together well enough to make that a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the plot it did make some of the plot points from the original movie a little bit clearer, and you're like, oh, because I think especially in Ghost in the Shell, some of the plot points weren't important because you're talking about different cultural things that are going on in Japan and how things are changing so fast and how the past is kind of like being erased and stuff. And so when you're watching the original animated movie, those are the things that are important.
Yeah.
The plot is not what's happening. The plot isn't really as important. Where in the movie, the live action movie, more of those things were important because, that's going to be our focus. And it's like, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was that.
Dude.
Dude.
Why did you bring that up?
I had to.
Oh, man, that hurt.
Like Edwin just looked like it lasted 16, 17 rounds against Mike Tyson right now.
Oh, man, I'm not in a happy place, man. That movie. Oh, God.
I gotta watch it.
And I got Jamal convinced.
The
I
The
love
thing
it.
is, it's
I
like
love it.
he's gonna watch it, and he's gonna say, well, because I don't think Jamal's watched have you watched the original
Nope.
Ghost in the Shell?
No.
Okay.
So he's gonna watch
I've
it.
never watched the original, but I knew as soon as I saw Scarlett Johansson in that role, I'm like, this is not going to end up well.
No.
I just knew. I'm like, this isn't going to be good. I'm not even going to waste my time on this.
No.
Yeah,
Not even free.
she didn't really pull off the gravitas of the major. I don't think that her performance is.
Like I said, she phoned it in. You can't blame her. But at the same time, she signed up for it. You're like,
She phoned it in because she was feeling bad.
It's a movie. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job for them. It's their career, and I know
Yeah.
that they want to do different things.
The
It helps
studio
them-
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'm not an actor, and I can't really speak to like why they do what they do.
Yeah.
But I think I do know enough where I think that they don't want to do the same thing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that sometimes, like, I remember Matt Damon, there was an interview, Matt Damon was doing an interview, and Ben Affleck had told him, you can't just do the art house projects. You do an art house project, and then you do a popular one so that people keep calling you.
Yeah.
And then
You
you can
see
do
your face kind
yeah,
of.
you can do the Born, and then you can do a talented Mr. Ripley. So you can switch back and forth, and you're still in the eye, and people still call you, and the studios
Right.
are like, that person's hot. We want them for our next big film. And I think with Scarlett Johansson, she had the Marvel movies, and I think the Marvel movies put a lot of these people on the map even more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I agree
so
with that.
yeah, and so I think that she became kind of like a go-to, like, we need an action person. Scarlett Johansson, she's on the top of a lot of people's lists because of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And so Why did she take it? I don't know, but
I don't blame her. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I don't look. They offered it to her. I can't blame her for taking it.
yeah,
But she just took it at the wrong time because
Yeah.
this is when
there was a lot of
there was
backlash.
a lot of talk about
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, the Oscars and
Yeah.
whatnot. So she just happened to take it at the wrong time.
Yeah, you don't love the original because you've never seen it. So I don't think you'll be able to hate watch this new one.
No,
But-
I'll still be able to.
I don't think you'll be as upset as Jack and I were.
I probably won't be,
Yeah.
but I can. If it's bad,
Yeah.
Jack was laughing. Jack and I were laughing. But
long story short, like it was like best hate watch experience of my life. Not gonna lie,
oh wow,
because I was ready. I got my boxing
Yeah.
gloves in there.
the movie wasn't even halfway done, and Jack was laughing, and I was like, I knew why he was laughing. I was trying to give it a chance, but at a certain point, it was just like, oh man,
It was too bland.
and the lines just kept getting worse and worse. And then when
And
she
the action
said,
too. The action was
Yeah.
really bad.
when she said I was built for justice, Jack lost it. He lost it. At that point, I'm like, man, this is not salvageable.
Think of like a Mad TV sketch in a movie.
that's
well,
makes
Mad
me
TV,
sad.
Mad
No,
TV is
Mad
good.
TV is great. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
imagine if, like they took it seriously, but Mad TV like parodied it anyway.
Well, Saturday Night Live has done that like 100 million
Oh.
times with their movies, but
What I mean, yeah.
well, imagine like somebody
I get what you're
a
saying.
bad sketch show.
Yeah.
Like somebody was like they did a bad sketch version of a movie. They're like, oh, we're gonna do a sketch version of this movie, and like nobody cared.
Yep.
That's what it felt like.
Yep.
It's like we're gonna do this, but nobody cares, and it's not funny.
That's
Not
what
intentionally.
upset me because I love a good female protagonist as an action hero. I've
Oh, yeah.
always been a sucker for that, and that's why I didn't watch Ghost in
I
the
think
Shell.
that
I knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
I knew they were going to ruin it. So
I
I'm
had
just
hope.
Nah,
I had hope.
I'm not.
I mean, yeah, we love
There was
Aliens,
Yeah.
and then more modern. I mean, I love the Colombiana.
I love
With
the
Zoe
Colombiana.
Saldana,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
I
my god, dude.
love- the
And of
Colombiana.
course, anime as well. Like comedy got killed.
Well, that's the thing about anime is like, yeah, dude, you have your strong female protagonist all the time.
Those
And-
are always my favorites.
Yeah.
Always my favorites.
And Ghost in the Shell is like one of the big ones. I mean, like
The
whenever,
number one. My
yeah,
whole
when
opinion,
everybody
yeah.
talks about like who's your favorite female protagonist, like Motoko Kasanagi. I mean,
Yeah.
I always like I'm on a Facebook a member of like a bunch of like anime groups, and whenever invariably that question comes up, it's like I'm posting a GIF of
major.
the major. It's
Yeah.
like Motoko, yeah, yeah. So that
And speaking of
That
Netflix, they did have the Ghost in the Shell their series, their own version too.
did they produce? Oh yeah,
Well, Netflix did
Yeah.
that was like the main
the
like,
new one, yeah, the digital, yeah.
Yep. I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. They had 2 or 3 episodes. I'm like, bleh, but it got better.
I liked it. I know a lot of people online weren't like enamored of it. I'm not 100% on board with that style that Netflix uses for their
It's
some of their anime.
Yeah, and that one's becoming like the next norm for anime, like animation design.
I think it's
RWBY or Ruby.
well they did
popularized it,
they did Akio, and then they did the Knights of Sidonia.
Berserk.
I think the Knights of Sidonia was one of the first ones that they produced using that computer generated style.
There you go.
And I thought it was all right. I didn't like the style. I thought like they look so weird.
Yeah.
And
It took a while. Even Berserk, it took a while. Then the one I'm watching right now called Duke of Death, the pure animation is just.
so that's the
just there.
same. That's
Yeah.
the same style,
Yeah.
and it's gotten a lot better than it was.
Yes.
Because I don't remember what I watched more recently. It's got Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost
I
in
think.
the Shell.
It's gotten a lot better, but it's still not there yet.
Uncanny Valley stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Like 100%. It's like
I know.
Yeah.
This whole episode's about our gripes with anime and our love for anime.
I don't think it's our gripes with anime. I think it's our gripe with streaming services.
It's definitely not a gripe about anime.
I think
it's
platforms and streaming services.
Platforms and streaming.
Like the concerning aspects of anime. There you go.
Well, I think it's people taking.
Oh no, we're going to get into the concerning aspects of anime.
Yes.
Believe me.
I think that it's about people taking anime and bastardizing it for profit.
They're hopping on to what's popular.
Yeah.
And they just don't know.
And they're like I know there's a lot of people that are old fans of anime that's like not happy with this new wave of people that are into it because they feel like they don't really enjoy it the same way, and it's like, no, like people actually really like this stuff now.
Yeah, there's a love for it.
Oh,
it's kind of like, you know, when you like a band when they're like local and then they blow up and everybody likes them and people get mad.
Green Day.
Yeah.
You name it.
Yeah.
With older fans, like I'm an older fan.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that, and I don't really, to me, this isn't, I love the fact that kids nowadays have such an access to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere for them. You know, it's on streaming services, different platforms. They can watch it on laptops. They can watch it on their phone. They can watch it on their computer. They can watch it on their TV. Everywhere. It's there for them. And that's, I think, what has made it so popular. I think a lot of older anime fans, there's two things. Back when I was a kid, the artwork wasn't as great. The artwork wasn't as sophisticated sometimes.
Yeah, choppy, but there was a charm. It worked.
I remember when we went to go see Nausicaa.
Yeah.
We went with someone. We went with one of my friends, and she had commented on the animation, and the animation was definitely different.
Oh yeah.
And I know that some of the younger ones, it's harder to go watch that because the animation has evolved so much over time.
Yeah.
Not only that, it was so hard to find back then. And I think that might be one of the things that people begrudge these younger fans is that they don't understand how hard it was to find anime.
Yeah.
And how hard it was to, you know, like watch it. And like, we were getting it from anywhere that we can. We had to watch the shows that we had access to. There was no like, you know, like, oh, I'm not going to watch this show. That's all you got. You know, nowadays, if they don't want to watch a show, I don't want to watch that. That's fine, you know, because they have other options. Back in the day, it's like, you better watch that show. Because that's all you got.
That's all you got.
You're lucky you're getting this.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys like, well, back in my day. But that's essentially what it was.
Everyone gets to that point whether they like it or not.
Yeah, it's like I was hunting for shows. It's like, even if I didn't like a show, I'm like...
That's me with DVDs. Like you don't enjoy a movie until you see the DVD sometimes. Back like in that stretch bubble when DVDs were first a thing. And now that's like ancient history now.
Man, DVDs were the thing.
I know.
Well, for me, it was video cassette. I mean,
video cassettes too. Like,
there's something about it having it, you know.
You had to have it.
Yeah.
Because it was like, you're not going to be able to find it if you don't.
Well, we're talking about like access has definitely increased in the last 10 years, I want to say.
But they still have canceled out like means of access to.
About 10.
Yeah. Netflix, with Netflix, Amazon, everybody has
as Blockbuster died out.
Best Buy
streaming
kind of took over with the DVDs because even Suncoast by that point was more limited.
And they had to run in general. They knew that it was
like I was buying my DVDs at Best Buy because that was pretty much it. I mean, unless you wanted to order them from Funimation, they were expensive. That shit was not cheap. I mean, you can get a Crunchyroll subscription for like what, $7, and you have access to like more than 300 shows. It's like that blows my mind. I was paying, you know, like $30, $30 to $40. No, actually lie, like $70 for a season of something for a complete collection in one of those boxes. And I cherish that. I was going to watch that like multiple times. It's like, that was happening.
And then going back to Ghost in the Shell, I did buy a standalone complex on DVD. And that's not on any streaming platform. So we're having a moment where we're getting access, but even like the source material stuff, it's gonna be hard to find. It's gonna be super rare.
Yeah, it's still rough.
Yeah,
It's still rough.
especially with anime. And
Yeah.
there's like a zillion shows that haven't even debuted on Funimation or Crunchyroll, or like they have shown in Japan, or or never been translated.
Oh yeah, there's
You name
stuff
it.
that
Originally
there's
wrote-
50 or 60. I'd say in the last 3 to 4 years, I've watched maybe 50 shows that I've never even mentioned to you guys.
There you go.
I mean, because it's like I watched them, they were okay. Like I said, I liked them with my rating system. It's like I gave them 1 star. I liked them.
Yeah.
They were entertaining, but they didn't rise to the level where I'm like, you have to watch this. I'm telling people. I enjoyed the experience. I'm not sure that anyone else will.
Yeah.
But
And it's not something that you're going to be rushing back to see again.
yeah,
It was just
that one
I
time.
saw
thing.
it once.
Yeah,
I
it
enjoyed it
entertained me.
enough. Yeah.
But it's like I got to watch those.
Yeah.
And it's like before that wouldn't have happened. The cream of the crop were the ones that ended up like I watched one. It was called Heaven's Design Team. So the premise of the show is that God has created the world, but he doesn't want to spend all the time making all the animals, so he outsources it to a design team.
Yeah.
There's this design studio. So one of the angels comes down to the design studio and he said, all right, God has an order for, an animal that lives under the water and has these prerequisites. And then, so they're like, okay, how do we make this? And so they stress out and they come up with these weird, crazy designs. And each episode is kind of funny because they come up with these animals that have no way of existing, but there's a lot of science to it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And it becomes kind of like a zoological showcase, because in between each episode, they have like real facts about animals. So it works more as a kid's show.
Yeah.
But I liked watching it. I thought it was funny. I thought the facts were interesting and it was entertaining. But I don't know who else would like something like that.
That actually sounds really interesting.
It was really cool.
I wouldn't mind
But
watching
see,
it.
I didn't know that. See,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know who else would like this. So it's like I gave it 1 star. I really liked it, but I wasn't sure who would I recommend this to?
Yeah.
Who would enjoy this the way that I enjoyed it?
And anime has that dilemma in general. Even like I mentioned, Duke of Death, it's a change of pace, and like what you're keeping up with. Like, do you have the time for it? Questions like that too come up too.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, every now and then I'll watch a really fan servicey show, and I'm like, I'm not gonna recommend this because it's like this gets into
too lewd.
So what does it take for an anime to get you to recommend it to other people?
what rises it to that level.
Yes.
So we talked about this before. My rating system is like, if I like something,
Right.
I'll give it 1 star. Usually it's the elements of the show. Like I'll take one like Mushoku Tensei, or That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. It's a bunch of things working together. If it's like the character design and the story arcs and how compelling they are, usually the more compelling the story is, the more likely I am to recommend it. The more I get drawn in, like if it's like I'm watching something and it's casual and I'm like doing other stuff, then I'm probably not going to recommend it. But if I get sucked in enough where it's like that's my main focus, then more than likely I'm going to recommend it. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the same way too. I look for like things like people like in general. Like with you with Demon Slayer, I was like, there's something to this one. I think you will like it, Jamaal. And you just have to give it a chance. It might, like right off the bat, remind me of Bleach and Full Metal Alchemist. And then, sure enough, I mentioned
Or
Full Metal
one that's
Alchemist.
even more, I think, mainstream is one we talked about before, Odd Taxi.
Yeah.
I think the more I think that people can relate to it, the more I'll recommend
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Taxi is a perfect example because, like you mentioned, it bounces off like Taxi Driver, stuff that people
So many different influences.
stuff that
yeah.
people are familiar with anyway.
Yeah.
Especially people who love film.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so modern too because
Yes.
it's like it's got all those elements where it's got mobile gaming, it's got like apps, popularity. It's so modern but so well done too. I mean, there's a lot of anime where the artwork isn't that great, or it's really cheesy, or it gets into like really questionable territory.
Yeah.
Those I might watch, but I'm probably not going to recommend. But the better the story, the more compelling, the character design. Like I can think about it logically, but it's usually a gut thing.
Yeah.
It's like I could break that down, but it's usually my gut that tells me, yeah, people are going to like this.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get it.
What about you, Jamal? What would be like your recommendation?
My recommendation?
Like when you want to recommend somebody to somebody, something to somebody.
Like let's say you watch an anime and you're like, oh, this is good.
I watch it and I say this is good. It's just like watching the show. Well, see, I'm not one that's going to invest a lot of my time into watching something. So if I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, it pulls you in.
It pulls me in.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like a show, if I start it, I'm most likely going to finish, unless it just gives me too much. Like I can't finish *Handmaid's Tale*. I'm never going to finish that show. It's made me too mad. I cannot finish. But, for the most part, I'm watching stuff where it's like, this looks interesting to me because I know who I am and I know what I like.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm just going to watch the same stuff that I already watch.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way with music.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to listen to who I already listen to. I don't devote as much time to new that I did 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So if I'm watching this, 9 times out of 10, it's because it's something to my liking and I'm going to enjoy it.
That's one of the things I like about anime is that it forces me out of my comfort zone a little bit, where it's like, I will say, oh, I don't like this. But then a show will come along and say, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah, same here.
And you're going to like this. So having, like I said, limited access,
Right.
I like sci-fi shows. I wanted to watch something like Cowboy Bebop or Outlaw Star. And so I'm not going to watch any slice of life anime. I'm just not going to do it. But then I started watching shows and I'm like, it's like now I'm watching slice of life where I'm like, I'm not going to watch rom-coms. Now I'm watching rom-coms.
That's me with horror, because horror is like, I like watching it, close to Halloween, whatever. Yeah. But all of a sudden I see another and Tokyo Ghoul. I'm like, all right, this is a good genre.
What Tokyo Ghoul is
that's one I have to finish as well.
Yeah.
Tokyo
I watched
Ghoul
the first season.
Is I have an argument that Tokyo Ghoul isn't actually a horror anime. It's more of a gang anime.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's more of a mafia type anime about these opposing gangs.
Like Tokyo Revengers kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, because I watched it. I don't always go into the horror, especially with anime, because it can get kind of disturbing. It's like wow,
like Elfen Lied.
They can get when anime wants to cut loose and be disturbing, it can. I mean, it can get dark. Tokyo Ghoul doesn't go that far. I had a harder time watching emotionally. I thought that Re:Zero was a more effective horror anime than
Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah, than Tokyo Ghoul. And I know people are going to be mad about that, but it's like, Jesus. Yeah.
We are going to be taking our first break. Coming up, we're going to explain what Netflix jail is. We're also going to catch up with Jamal and all the anime he's been watching. And finally, we're going to explain why Komi is a better actress than Brie Larson. Stay tuned. got more ammo.
Yeah, I have more ammo. So since I'm back, I have a question for you two.
Okay.
Sure.
Because you brought up Mushoku Tensei.
Uh-huh.
Have you guys been keeping up with the second season of that and Slime? And what are your thoughts of it?
Well, there have been a few episodes since the fall catch up. I'm actually liking this season better than the first. But I don't think it's like I don't think I can say that the first season was better than well actually I think this is just one season. I think this is the second half of the first season.
I think they're
I
saying
think
They're
that's
both
the way-
released in the same year too.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
the way they're structuring that. But so the second half of the first season, I don't think that it's better. I'm liking it more, but I think that's because it's a continuation of the story,
right.
and the stakes seem to be getting a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Rudius, man. Oh, Rudy, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
He doesn't.
man.
He doesn't turn for the worse, but it's also kind of evident. He's still learning.
My thing is, it's like this guy. This guy is like his own worst enemy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like he's his best friend and his own worst enemy rolled up into one.
Yeah.
And he just keeps doing stuff where I'm just like, Rudy, come on, man. If you stop and think for 5 minutes, you'd be way better off.
I know.
But that doesn't make it a bad show.
No. I think that elevates the show.
Yeah, because he is who he is.
Yeah.
And
For better or worse.
the show doesn't apologize for that.
I'm so far liking the second half more than the first half. Just a little bit extra with the second half.
I think I like the second half a little more than the first half too.
Yeah.
But Edwin, I want to pose this question to you.
Sure.
Because this was a big discussion we had about the first season and how we like how Rudy is growing, but the one thing that he didn't really grow from was his perversion.
Yeah.
And how we said we'd be disappointed if he didn't grow out of that heading into this part. How do you see his progression in that?
It's still there.
Yeah.
It's not as much as a focus I've noticed in this season, but I'm starting to think that this is one of his fatal flaws.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this is something that he's going to grow out of, but I do think that there's going to be consequences. I don't see Rudy being happy ever. Like, I think this might be this terrible time, his childhood and this terrible time where he split from his family are going to probably be the happiest years of Rudy's life. Because I think that between the events of the story and his fatal flaw, he's going to have a hard life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's going to be very watchable because I think that the show sets stuff up and there's definitely payoff. There's definitely
Yes.
consequences. And as long as they continue to do that with the story, and as long as it continues to its pacing, where you'll have slow episodes and then fast episodes and these quick changes
Right.
that are kind of shocking, I think it'll continue to be very good.
Yeah, I agree. It's not as frequent as it was in the first season. And there's still consequences. He gets thrown in jail, and they're treating him terribly. I mean, there's still consequences there. Yeah. And I do like that they continue to do that to him. Yeah. It's like, no, there's going to be consequences to this.
Well, I like that him being thrown in jail wasn't actually a consequence as much as it was a misunderstanding.
Right.
But you kind of felt like, Rudy, you've done enough stuff where you probably deserved
it anyway.
Yeah.
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 So.
And me and Jack were talking about this in that there's a moment in the first season where he catches Eris's grandfather sleeping with one of the beast people.
I remember that.
And then there's a moment in this series where Rudy's kind of wondering if Eris's grandfather is paying these people who are essentially sex traffickers to get these beast women. And so it kind of takes the story full circle. And you kind of see as like you kind of get a representation of the costs of his family's shadiness,
Yes.
the unlawful, their desires and their tastes, and how that affects other people. And I think that's really cool because you don't get, most shows they don't bother to show you that. And they're not that serious. It's a more of a plot device than an actual aspect of the story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 And I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I do like the way that unfolded. And I like the way this second half is slowly unfolding.
Yeah.
And it's like giving you enough because he's learning new things. He has the eye now.
Yeah.
So he's like learning with the eye. And it's like, oh, okay, this is an interesting development. And you just get it's slowly bringing all of this stuff full circle. And you're seeing the impact of what really happened.
Yeah.
Because I thought the fight that he had with his dad was really good.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was great.
I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
From a reunion. That was not it.
I didn't expect a reunion that fast.
Yeah.
And then once we got it, I didn't know.
Well, I think I think what they're doing is that the reunions will be more and more meaningful.
Right. I
to
agree.
Rudy.
Yes.
And I think having him meet Paul first, because the way he meets Paul and then the way he interacts with Paul, because Paul wasn't the most important person to Rudy.
Right.
And
he didn't like him at all.
Huh?
He didn't like him at all.
I don't.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't like Paul at all.
I think he begrudgingly liked Paul. I think there were moments where there was like some mutual respect.
Yeah, mentally he was older than him in a weird way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Paul, has more experience per se.
Paul was
I think
definitely
there were
mentally
moments-
older than Rudy is.
Well,
There were moments where, as men of certain tastes,
Right.
they connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, and there was some begrudging respect, I think, from both sides.
Mhm.
And I think that we're going to see more meaningful reunions as the show goes on.
I see that too. Because they're already teasing one.
Yeah, Lil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lilith.
Handmaid, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Roxy's still not there.
Well, then I think it'll be his mom.
Yeah.
And then later on, I think toward the end, it might be Roxy. Because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he might run into Sylvie first.
Sylvie first.
Yeah.
I think he'll run into Sylvie first too. I think Roxy, they're already like teasing Roxy,
Yeah.
but I think I think it'll be better if they hold off on
Oh
that.
yeah. Speaking of payoff and like consequences and things that a certain show that shouldn't be named anymore, it should be flushed down the toilet, could have bounced off of.
Well, it's like I said, when I mentioned when I brought up Mushoku Tensei during our discussion of that show,
Yeah.
of the travesty,
Tasteless.
I talked about tasteless. There you go, tasteless and useless. I talked about how Mushoku Tensei is an adaptation of a manga.
Yeah.
They essentially created a studio just to do this.
Yeah.
Just to do this adaptation. That's the level of respect that they have for the material. They want to do this show and they want to do this show justice, and I think they totally are. Yeah.
I think so too.
It's like I said, I think it was still my number one when we did our rankings.
And fun fact, I like My Senpai is annoying a little bit more than Komi right now. Just a little bit, right about now.
Really?
Yeah, because I already read the manga for Komi, so it's like a matter of timing until they do certain episodes.
Well, I think, yeah, because like when I was watching Komi, I remembered the episode where Tandaro gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking when I was reading the manga, I was like, what is this manga going to be about?
Yeah.
I'm like, are they taking this to like, are they going to kill him? It's like, what am I watching? Or what am I reading? I'm like, I thought I was reading one thing and then it changes to this. So when I was watching that episode, I remember those feelings that I had. And I remember I was thinking like, what is the audience going to think about this at this moment?
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's played for laughs. But it's such a departure from everything they've been doing so far
It
that tonally I was like, are they going to kill him?
Yeah.
is. It is, but it fit.
And And one thing
fit.
I
Well, it
didn't,
fit with the character
Right.
that they were. Yeah.
and one thing I think about it with our commentary with Komi for the manga, how raw it is. Very raw. Something about dealing with social problems and like angsty like problems in high school and stuff like that. It goes head at full steam. That one was definitely like, this is extreme. You can't be that obsessive at all, even for laughs. But we don't care what you think. The writer and the creators are the ones that want to treat this and handle this with care. So,
Well, I think with Komi, it's more about, it is their relationship,
yeah,
but it's also about all of the characters.
yeah,
Right.
And right now they're just like introducing all the characters. With My Senpai is Annoying, it's like you're in.
yeah, and it's cute.
It's like it's 4 characters.
Yeah.
It's cute. It's simple. You're there from the beginning. Komi has to build to the point where they all start interacting, and that's when it really starts to.
And then the first season as well. How long length of time, and then because I'm hoping for the payoff to be a volume 8, at least timing wise. But I doubt it'll go up there because we're up to like the original series is up to 24 or so. So in Japan,
For Komi?
in
Oh,
Japan,
24?
in Japan,
Okay.
yeah, 23 or 24. And
Like, well, it's not a shonen, but it has that link to it.
It does.
It's like she sets out her goal in the beginning.
Yeah.
She's gonna make 100 friends in high school, and I think that the creator is actually gonna do this.
Yeah,
He's gonna
yeah.
cover that entire, essentially her entire high school career.
Exactly.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because, you guys have been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
So when they came
Like
out with
4
the
years
show,
now?
yeah, I'm like,
I remember your initial reaction, like, this Komi, what?
I didn't get it. But watching the show, I really enjoy the show, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and I could see why you guys like it.
At a bookstore, seeing the people getting, oh, do you have Komi? Do you have the first volume? And seeing enough. Yeah, I checked out day one, I can brag about it. I love to brag about it.
We were there on the ground floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were,
Ground
yeah.
floor, I can attest to that. You guys are definitely there on the ground floor.
And I literally remember Edwin picking it out and looking at it. And I'm like, this is where it's going to go.
Yeah, it was, well, for me, it's a little bit different than most slice of life in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because Komi is more like a comic strip
Yeah.
than a full-on narrative,
Yeah,
the way some shows are.
I could see that.
So it's very episodic, and I don't know why they made one change that was really weird to me. It's not that I don't like it or like it, but it's in the manga, they list them as, each little episodic thing is listed as a communication.
Yeah.
In the show, it's called the mission,
Yes.
which to me is like
A key difference. Yeah.
a very weird difference, because it's like Komi can't communicate is the name of the manga.
Right.
And so why would you change?
And those serializations are communication, like adventures, like steps, baby steps to order to communicate better.
Well, yeah, but it's like a comic strip, and each one is separated by that. So why would you change it to mission?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That really boggles my. I'm like,
That is odd to me. And communication definitely fits.
yeah, because Jack said, it's the perfect term for it, given what he said.
Yeah.
Because
So
she's
why would you
slowly
change
building up to it.
Yeah.
Because I like watched the latest episode yesterday, and she finally speaks on the phone to
Tandero.
No, not him.
Oh, Yanjini.
Yajini.
Yajini.
Well, she talks.
Najini.
She talks to
She
him on the
talks-
phone too,
Yeah.
but she has to go. She goes outside
Yeah.
and is in the hallway.
Yeah,
and
and
she
she
trans-
talks. She talks to him.
Yeah.
But then Najini, like, she's never talked to him before.
Yeah.
So now it's like this big buildup. She says a couple words, but it's like this is the second person she's talked to.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have communication as the title, it makes more sense than mission.
Yeah.
I get how you can say mission,
For the adventure aspect.
but
100 friends,
it makes
100
more
friends.
sense for it to be communication.
Yep.
Yeah.
But for somebody like me who really wants to watch the action and stuff, I really enjoy this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good show. And
Yeah,
it's good for a lot of people to watch because there's a lot of people with social anxiety out there.
There are.
And
Yeah.
like I said, like there's a gravity towards it because those Miki kids, kind of like those niche things. They like anime, the manga, but you don't know how to really relate to it because they don't tell other people. And Komi can't communicate is that perfect like barrier of like, yeah, it's okay. You follow along this girl because she's trying just like you. So it gives a good comfort and
Yeah, it's a very positive show.
yeah.
Very positive show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a girl who seemingly has everything going for her, but she just is so shy she can't talk.
I like how they throw all the tropes at her, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel tropey.
No.
But you have these you're throwing all these different like stereotypes from different anime shows at her, but it never feels like there's no cringe.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a love and respect for these characters.
Right.
And there's like, you don't get that, like, there's no cringiness about it.
Yep.
And even when Tanuro is kidnapped, and I'm like, I got scared for a minute because I'm like, what is this manga going to go in that direction and become something that I don't want to read? No, they brought it right back and turned it into something. It turned it into a moment where it's like, she has a new friend.
Yeah.
This girl's crazy stalker, but she has a friend, and
It counts.
it kind of becomes harmless in a sense.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's not what this show is going to be about. And so I'm like,
Yeah, and like I said, with the raw aspect of it, you just have to trust it. And by all means, if you don't like that episode, you don't have to watch. There's no force for it, but people have stuck with it. There's a payoff. So,
well, I think people are sticking with it because I think it's
because of
yeah.
the endearing aspect. And Komi,
well, that's what I'm saying.
and Komi
Yeah,
ultimately is that beautiful like beacon of hope. So,
yeah. It's like she's up there, and you have all these things that were coming after her
yeah,
in different ways, in different aspects, but it's not the same.
no,
It's all about her and this awkwardness that is incredible, like you said, endearing and so utterly cute. Especially when the cat ears pop up,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's it,
that's it.
You're done.
Game over.
game over. And I love her eyes. Her eyes.
When she
Her
gets
eyes
nervous.
tell the story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
when
don't
her
know
eyes
what I'm
pop up real
What
big.
am I doing here? What am I doing? What am I doing?
Yep. Or
Her
when they're
eyes
like,
pop up all the time, but they mean something different every time.
yeah, and then she either has the sultry eyes
Mm-hmm.
or the big pop up eyes or the little cat eyes.
Yeah.
But it's never, it shifts so fast between like your regular standard anime eyes.
Yeah, more evident with the manga because manga makes it clear and cut. Anime has to transition towards it.
Well, the anime does it. It does it well too.
Yeah, it does it really well.
surprisingly.
It does it very
Yeah.
well.
Like her eyes are very expressive, and they don't always use the
A
common-
lot better than that garbage Handmaid's Tale, where they say, "Oh my goodness, her face tells the story." She makes the same ugly face
Oh no!
the entire time.
Or after hours.
The entire time. And Kerry Washington and what was that silly thing? Little Fires Everywhere, whatever. Same thing. Horrible face she made the entire time through the entire show.
Compared to Komi.
And they say, "Oh, the face tells the story." No, the face is ugly. It does nothing
Or like
but
your
make me want to turn the TV off.
your other favorite with Captain Marvel and Brie Larson.
Yeah, another one. Another
I'm
one.
with Jamal. I'm not
The
a fan of
same
that one.
face
I'm
throughout
not
the
a
The
whole
fan.
movie.
same face. That is not expressive. Your face is not telling the story. Your face makes me want to turn this off.
Oh,
That's why
wow.
Captain Marvel sucked.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
I like
But
it.
Komi does it very well.
Yeah.
Komi
Yeah,
does
yeah.
it very well, and her eyes tell the story. It could be surprised, it could be nervous, it could be I have an idea, it could be I'm
Confused.
happy, it could be anything, and like the second she does it, you know it.
You know it. Yeah.
You know it. You don't have to read the subtitles. You
And
know it.
How mind-boggling is it that Netflix is bringing you Komi and the live-action Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, but
It's
they're
just
bringing it, but it ain't really them, though.
No.
I know.
You know, so they're just kind of licensing it, and they're
Yeah.
like, we have the rights to this,
As
but
distribution.
they're not really doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And the cynical part of me is that one person doing data of like, well, what's the number one manga that's selling? Okay, we need something a little bit more unique for the kids. They're just pressing numbers.
Well, like what I've been able to piece together, I haven't done like the research on this, but what I've been able to find out is that so essentially there's boards
Yeah.
and the distribution, essentially they sit on these boards, and these are production boards, and so they kind of play a part in what gets made because they will finance certain projects where the studio can say, we want to do this, and then the board is like, okay, we'll back that, we'll finance that, we'll pay you to do that. And so I think that's what happened with Komi and Netflix, because I think that's what happens with Crunchyroll and
Funimation.
with Funimation.
Because money has to go somewhere, and they gotta make something big out
Well,
of
the
it.
distributors have money, and so they help them. They'll pay them like, hey, look, we'll help you make this, and then we'll put our name on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Well, we want the shows to get made.
Yeah, Netflix as distribution is fine.
Yeah.
They can distribute all the anime they want. I don't care. Them producing it is the problem.
Yeah, content creation.
That's another theme too, like original
Well,
ideas.
that was one of the things that upset me at the beginning of the streaming wars, because I didn't want Netflix to solely become just Netflix content.
Yeah.
Correct.
I wanted Netflix to continue to be a platform where I could watch things that I wanted to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I wanted to watch certain movies, but I knew the minute they started creating their own content, I knew this is trouble.
Yeah.
This is trouble because they're going to start fighting over the licensing rights for what they have, and you're not going to be able to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it.
Yeah, and how they advertise and have to keep it going, keep a ship afloat.
Well, the way Amazon works is you can get Amazon Prime and you can watch Prime shows.
Yeah.
But you can also buy digital copies of movies and shows that you want to watch, regardless of who owns the licensing to those. Some of them are still restricted, like the Showtime ones. Certain things are still like you can't find even on Amazon to buy the digital copies. But I think that Netflix kind of shot itself in the foot by not doing that.
Oh yeah, and with the subscription, heighten the subscription now, because even Hulu is perfected way, including commercials with their high price. So.
Well, commercials, I'm fine that Netflix doesn't have commercials. I appreciate that Netflix doesn't have commercials.
One of the few, yeah.
I don't want to watch commercials. Commercials have gotten so...
It's just because what I'm mentioning is that the revenue, like, they added revenue, as it were. Because Netflix is also really bad in debt.
Well, that's their own fault.
I know.
They continually operate in debt.
That's their own fault, because they probably have like close to 1 billion subscribers.
Yeah.
Because they're across the planet.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you going broke?
Yeah.
How are you going broke? You're spending too much. You're producing too much of your own content, and you're not licensing other people's content. And that's cheaper. It's cheaper to license other people's content than creating your own content, or just get the distribute, or like you said, just get the distribution rights. Don't say, like, hey, we like this show, we want to distribute it to our other, we want to distribute it in North America.
Similar means with Amazon,
Right. Yeah. Something like that. But by having to create their own content all the time, they're going to lose money, because it's like you're not taking in revenue from advertisers. You're not taking in revenue from like moviegoers. You just have that one flat subscription rate, which you need to budget. You need to say, hey, look, we need to for a month, we're not going to produce anything. We're just going to take that money, we're going to put it in the bank, and we're going to save it. And then we'll start doing that again. And do that every few months. Like, have a season. Like, hey, for 3 months, we're going to produce this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to stop. We're going to save that money from our subscribers. We're going to put that in the bank. And then for the next 3 seasons, we're going to use that money to produce the next 3 seasons after that. I mean, George Lucas had to do that.
Yeah.
George Lucas had to do that. George Lucas released the Star Wars movies on videotape. He used that movie on DVDs or something. He used that money to make the first prequel. The money from the first prequel he used to make the second prequel. And the money from that he used to do the last one. That's how he did it.
Yeah. Because
he didn't just
he didn't want. He had his own studio system, as it were.
Well, he was an independent filmmaker.
Yep.
He didn't. There were certain things that Hollywood said you can't do, George, which, looking back,
a yes or no dilemma.
Especially with the prequels, it's like, you probably could have used some oversight.
Yes
or
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want somebody else to give you something that's yours. So.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, Netflix wants that Hollywood approval. And that's all it is. They're all into this content creation thing so they can get their Oscars, so they can get their Emmys. That is what they want. And they so desperately seek this Hollywood approval. But it's like, you don't need to be Hollywood, man.
No.
You're your own thing.
Yeah. You're better. But the thing with Hollywood is that Hollywood is still begrudgingly behind the times too, and it's kind of like a weird this is it, guys. Your top stars are doing it.
Hollywood is dead.
Yeah.
Hollywood is dead. It's like
Hollywood is dead.
Yeah.
it's like he said, like, just be distribution. Like, I hear a lot of comedians now say, look, I shoot my own special. I'll bring it to Netflix. They decide they'll pay me for it and they distribute it. Just do that.
Yeah.
Just be distribution. Just be like, you go out and you make this movie. We'll distribute it here. We'll pay for it.
Well, the problem is that they had to devour all the studios. That's why Hollywood is dead.
Yeah.
They devoured all these studios to control the content, but now they have to pay for the content. A studio used to be able to, what happened is that they got investors to produce these things. They got an executive producer who would go around and say, hey, they've got a lot of money. We'll go to them. They'll produce this. And that died when Disney and everybody else started buying all the studios.
Yeah.
You know, you had like AT&T buy Time Warner. It's like, what?
For no reason.
Yeah, for no reason.
That
Just
was weird.
because they wanted to have content for HBO Max.
Right.
And it was like, okay, look what happened there.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't do anything with it. It just, HBO kept doing its own thing, but it wasn't enough to be an entirety of a streaming service.
HBO is great and it's critically regarded, but they just don't have the content.
Well, what
For a
I'm
streaming
starting to feel
platform.
is that there isn't enough content for all these platforms.
Yeah.
There just isn't.
Yeah.
And who has time to watch all this stuff?
It's feasibly
Nobody.
possible.
They're creating all this stuff, which is, some of it might be really good, some of it are really bad. Who has time to watch all this? And you got to be, at this point, you have to be out of your mind as an executive to think that you're going to come up with something that is going to steal the business from all the other streaming services.
Yeah.
It's like, give it up. Eventually, at some point, they're just all going to eat each other. And Netflix is either going to own everything, or Amazon's going to own everything, or Disney's going to own everything. I mean, it's almost there already.
Yeah.
And to think that you're going to walk in and try to compete with these guys, you're out of your mind.
Yep.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But that's okay. Because, like I say, the streets will always find a way.
I think that's Jamal's number one call.
Well, I mean, it's look.
We'll always find. We're in a digital age now.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything for too
we're
long.
our own radical eds at this point.
Well, we can find a way to watch.
Yeah.
That-
we will find a way.
That
to
won't be a
watch.
problem
Right.
because I might need the hookup on Dexter.
I'm watching Komi on my own kind of thing.
Because I'm not paying to watch the continuation of that, but I
Right.
do want to watch it. But that being said, it's not about watching it; it's about the content itself.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Creating all of this content to go where? To do what? To
You're
accomplish?
competing against for all these people's time.
Yeah.
And it's like you're throwing all this content at them. They're just not going to have enough. And it's like I'm starting to see like all of these little companies are like, here, just take a year of this for free. Like T-Mobile was just like, here, have a free year of Paramount Plus. All right, I'll do it. Because you know what? They think, all right, after a year, you're going to like it so much that you're going to keep paying for it. No, I won't. No, I won't.
That's my argument for the model that we talked about before, where they take it back to a weekly model.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I don't have time to watch all this. Like, well, here's an example. Somebody was asking me, somebody said, so how many anime are you watching this season? I'm like, I'm watching 15. They're like, how are you doing that? I'm like, it's one episode a week. That's it. It's one episode.
Yeah.
It's one episode, and they're not all on one day. They happen at different points. Like there'll be the Sunday shows, there'll be the Friday shows, there'll be the Saturday shows.
And we're talking about no commercials because anime is infamous for the half break, and they're typically 25-minute or so. timed episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm able to do that because it happens on a weekly basis.
Right.
They're not giving me like 12 shows all at once. I'm not trying to do that all at once. I'm doing that over the course of a week, or the course of a season, which is 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I kind of argue that these streaming services should go back to that, because if you really like a show, you'll keep coming back.
For me, what you alluded to, what they should fix, I might be losing billions of dollars by saying it, but screw it. It's basically just halting, all the productions, have a window of what's available, and then close it. Almost like Disney's open vault thing with the rare VHS and DVDs. I'm surprised Disney doesn't do that, because Disney's like, you know what, we have to keep up with Netflix. We'll just have everything at once. But people get bored of it. But like Cauldron's still there. I still, I haven't rewatched it. He kind of loses value during time in a weird way. So the scarcity is out.
I don't think that with older stuff, I think that's fine, especially with movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can't back in the day, the way we used to see stuff is like every Monday night they would have like, okay, this is like your Disney movie night.
Yep.
They would have a specific Disney movie. So you didn't
Johnny
get around.
Tsunami.
Huh?
Johnny Tsunami.
Yep. You didn't get around.
The Color Friendship.
You didn't gather around to see a specific Disney movie. You just
Cool
gathered around
Runnings.
to watch a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, whether it was Cinderella or Snow White or Bambi or whatever.
The Santa Claus.
Yeah, it was like, okay, you're going to watch this week, you're going to watch a Disney movie, and it's a different one. But with streaming, I don't think they'll be able to go back to that, because people are like, well, we don't want to watch that one because it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But they want to watch specific ones when they want to watch them, which is fine too. I think there's room for that model too. But I honestly think that they need to go back to seasons, and they need to go back to weekly episodes.
Yeah.
Because, and then, just binge it afterwards.
Yeah.
Binge it after the fact.
Yeah. I
Because
agree.
I think, like you said, I think it's a way of doing scarcity, where it's like,
You have to see, like Squid Game. Like, people could forget it in 6 months from now. Tiger King, people practically forgot. So
yeah, and then it came back,
exactly.
season 2.
Yeah. In a documentary, whatever. But
Yeah.
the whole point is that eventually there is going to be a wheelhouse where, similar like a movie aspect, we're going to run it for a month. If it's really popular, maybe 2. That's it. We won't bring it back for
Well,
a while.
I think leaving it there is fine. But the problem, and I think the problem that they're running into is that, and then I run into this too. It's like, I know it's there.
Yeah.
I'm never going to
Yeah.
watch it because I know it's there. I'm never going to. There's a lot of these shows.
It's like going to the Bean.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to go to the Bean. I know it's there. I could always go to
Same.
it.
Yeah.
Once
But
was
then
funny.
somebody comes into town, they're like, you want to go to the Bean? You're like, yeah.
Yeah, you take them there
But
because
you take them there because you know it's like there. It's like, well, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I don't really go to the Bean.
And then a lot of these shows, like I watch anime for enjoyment.
Right.
I watch anime because I like anime. The only show that I've watched for this podcast that wasn't a show that I didn't want to watch was this live action Cowboy Bebop. So, but with a lot of these shows on streaming networks, I feel that I'm watching them to talk about them later.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I need something to talk about in the office on Monday morning, so I need to watch the most recent episode of this show so I can talk about it on Monday morning. And I'm like, that's why I don't like sports.
Yeah. If you have time.
I mean, I know you guys are big sports fans, but I'm like, for my male relationships, I feel that it's like something that people have in common. And so it's like a language that they have that they can share with each other.
Yeah.
Like, did you watch the game? Like, yeah, I watched the game. I'm starting to feel that streaming shows are kind of like that.
Yeah.
Water cooler.
Yeah. Like, did you watch the latest episode of this?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, okay, how else do we relate to each other?
I know. And unfortunately for me, I never really had anime friends until you guys, honestly. And, growing up, past my 20s, I'm like, wow, it's finally coming to the forum. I have to catch up. And, even with the access and what we have now for anime, we're, very blessed.
Yeah.
And if only knows if it'll only get better or worse. But at the same time, it's going to be a factor where, I have my own queue. don't take offense that it's my cue. None taken.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that too because I've told many people, like, watch this now, today, tomorrow, not tomorrow. But
Do they?
No,
Yeah.
it's nearly impossible. And I'm grateful for you guys for the 950 Club.
You know, I think, honestly, like, going full circle, I think anime is starting to get to a point where it is becoming that part of that conversation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A million times over.
Where it's like, oh, did you see this season of blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
Or this episode of this? And it's like, right now, the shows may be My Hero or, Kaisen or whatever. But it's going to get to the point where it's, did you see the latest episode of Mushoku Tensei?
Yeah.
Did you see the latest episode of this? And it's going to be like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And it's good when you have people out there. Shout out to you, Jesse, because he loves isekai and he's dying to get on the show. So I want to get him on the show.
You're more than welcome.
So
buddy.
it's like being able to have people like that where you can actually discuss it with people in the office. As we mentioned before, it's no longer like frowned upon.
Yeah.
It's no longer an embarrassment thing. It's like you could talk about these things and they actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they'll comment on it.
Yeah.
But the question I have for you is, do you think people have been conditioned to binging to the point where they cannot go back to the episodic releases?
Yes and no. I think they want their stuff and they want it now. But I think that The Mandalorian and even shows like Komi. So with Komi, they kind of don't have a choice. With Komi, it's being released weekly.
Right.
And people were like, you give that to us and you give it to us now. We're not going to wait. We don't want to wait.
Right.
Some people have called it Netflix jail. Where an anime will be, because we got used to streaming where we got the episodes
right
off the bat. They're not translated,
right,
but they have the subtitles, and so we get them, and we get them weekly, and that's how I'm able to watch more stuff, regardless of whether or not you're used to binging. For me, it's kind of like that's actually a bad thing. Because it's like, all right, I have 10 episodes. I need to fit 10 episodes of something into my life in this schedule.
Yeah. And with the 950 Club podcast, we've done retrospectives, and it is a daunting task. I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah, it's like, how do I squeeze all of these episodes into the time frame that I have? So for me, it's like, kind of is a detraction. It's like, that's a commitment. It's like, now I have to commit to watching this show. It's not one episode. I have to watch 10 episodes, 6 to 10 episodes of this thing.
It'd be part of the water cooler.
Be part of the conversation. Yeah. And I'm like, man, do I really want to watch this? But so I think that people are willing to, I think they'll be accepting of something if it's good. Like Komi's good. The Mandalorian's good.
Game of Thrones, you name it.
Well, I think that, that weekly thing will, I think, still continue. But I think that binging is the new norm.
I think so too. And Jack, I think that could be part of the problem that you run into with people. Because it's like, okay, you recommend a show and then they go to it. And it's like, yeah, if it's released weekly, there's people that's just like, yeah, I'll wait till it's done so I can binge it.
Yeah, too.
Like there's a lot of people that'll say that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just watch what you get, and then if you like it, you can go. But if they want to binge, people are so bent on binging that they're going to do it. But then it's like, so then you get the weekly stuff, and it's like easier to take in.
Yeah.
To me, and I like the weekly, and I like that we have more outlets for it, because it's like I watch Mushoku on Hulu. It comes out like every Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's just right there, and I'm like, okay. So it's like having these outlets where I can have it and it's easily accessible and it's not going anywhere. I think that's helpful too.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you need a Crunchyroll or Funimation, a lot of people aren't going to go out of their way to do that. But if you can be like, oh, it's on Hulu or it's on Netflix, they'll be like, oh, okay.
Well, I've thought about doing like a podcast episode where we talk about stuff that's more accessible.
Right.
like stuff that's on Prime that you can watch on Prime.
Yeah, I even captured Prime, and Prime has Banana Fish, and a lot of girls, especially girls, are getting into that one. So
Yeah, they have some stuff that people have talked to me about too.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about maybe we should do an episode where what are our favorite shows? What are our favorite anime on Netflix?
Crunchyroll.
What are our favorite anime? No.
No.
Well,
no, the
like-
stuff that's set Netflix,
Oh,
Hulu,
for the bigger guys. Okay.
Yeah, for the
you
bigger
know,
guys. For the
Amazon.
for the more mainstream
Yeah.
streaming services, like Funimation and Crunchyroll are still a little bit niche.
Fair enough.
They definitely are.
Yeah,
They definitely are.
But there's enough. I think there's enough anime on Netflix, and there's enough anime on Prime where you could talk about like what are some of the better shows. Like you mentioned, Banana Fish. I really like Brand New Animal.
Yeah, that's Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Netflix. So maybe we could do that.
All right.
Yeah, at some point, bring you back, Jamal, and we could talk about that.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
Oh.
Cool.
All right. And this concludes a wonderful, wonderful night. After hours, you name it, everything
Yep.
special.
Yeah, we covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in,
We
Jamal.
cover ground when I'm here.
And we get the bashing and the mashing. You get me and Edwin swearing. You know it's a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely the 950 Club Unleashed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thank you for tuning in to our 950 Club After Hours special. Next week, we're going to have 2 episodes. Part 1, Cowboy Bebop, the original. And Part 2, the live action Netflix version. It's going to be great. So please tune in next week. Goodbye.